Everybody, good morning, good evening, or good night, wherever it is you may be. Right now, we're going to be doing another fretboard diagram video explaining another way, I think, an interesting way of looking at the major scale on the guitar. And here we have all the natural notes. So that would be C major, A natural minor. If you know your modes, that means it would be C Ionian, D Dorian, E Phrygian, F Lydian, G Mixolydian, A Aeolian, B Locrian. For the most of this video, we're going to be talking about things through the perspective of C major, meaning C is the one. So if C is the one, we see that we have one observation here is that starting on the 2, which is D, the tuning of the guitar makes it so that if we start on the 2, the G is here, the C is here, the F is here, A is here, D is here. So all the notes are on a single fret, which makes it convenient if you're trying to remember something. It's like, okay, play anything that's on the 10th fret. Of course, it makes it easier when it's all in a straight line. Similarly, everything that starts on the 3, which would be E, is also in a straight line. It's just that this is the tuning of the guitar, E, A, D, G, B, E. Those notes happen to be all natural, so therefore they are in C. And so we see them here on the 12th fret as well. And then additionally the 6, which is A, they're all in a straight line. So the 2, the 3, and the 6. Well, what are the 2, 3, and 6? They just so happen to be the minor chords within a major key. If we look at the circle of fifths, if we take a note here, the note to the left or clockwise would be its 4th, which is a major chord. The note to the right, or um, excuse me, this would be counterclockwise, this would be clockwise G. That's its 5th. And then the 3 notes in here are the minor chords that correspond to the major key. In the key of C, we have a D minor, an E minor, and an A minor. If we were to look at some other key, the key of E flat has C minor, G minor, F minor. So if we were doing this in the key of E flat, we would start on the F, we would start on the G, and we would start on the C, and you would see if we're putting all the notes of E flat in there that those would also be in straight lines. So if you know your minor chords that belong to a key, that's a good starting point for having this whole fretboard figured out, because you can see that that's going to produce, at least in standard tuning, all of the lines, all of the notes on that fret. So I'm going to slide this over here so we can take a peek at that. So now we're looking at just these 3. So my next point is going to be to show how we can know this whole thing. I'm actually going to eliminate this right here, because what we're trying to do is just know everything within 12 frets. But these I'll leave here because it's part of one of the patterns. But I'm going to cover this up for now. And then we have here the 3 lines. Well, once again, if we start on the C to D is the 2, so all of those notes in standard tuning happen to be upon the 10th fret. Everything starting from the 3 is open, or the 12th fret. Everything from the 6 in the key of C, A, D, G, C, E, A ends up on the 5th fret. So for every major key, you're going to have 3 straight lines within the 12 frets, and those are always going to take place on the 2, 3, and 6, the roots of the minor. Kind of convenient. So move this over here. Now we're going to reveal the 3 patterns. This is everything that I have right here, just grouped up into sections, 3 different sections. So these three. Now, sometimes, when you're playing a major scale, we can start on the G and play kind of like a combination between these. But because these start with these straight lines, I think a good approach to remembering these is just to concentrate on these three. If you already know them, great. If you already know some other patterns, great. But uh, because these have uniformity with the way they look, and they're not too far from one another in the way that they look. I'll show you what I mean here. So if I bring in the scale degrees, if this were a mode, E would be the 1, and then A would be the 1, and then D would be the 1. So if we turn them into modes, we see that 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1, so on and so forth. How's this scale different? Well, this goes 1, not to the flat 2, but the 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. So everything from here, 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1, and the flat 2 is not here because this one has a 2. So this one has the 2, this one has the flat 2. That's the only difference between them. And then from this one to this one, we have 1. This would be the minor mode. This would be the Phrygian mode, and then this would then be the Dorian mode. The one starting on the 2. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5. Those first 5 notes are exactly the same. Where Dorian becomes different is it doesn't have the flatted 6. It has a 6, flat 7, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1, 2, flat 3. So because these three are not that different from one another, once we know one, we should be able to remember the other ones. So let's eliminate these here and look at our notes once again. Oops, coming off the screen here. Sorry about that. Hopefully we're in the recorded area now. Perfect. Pause in the action here, folks. Get rid of this one. So when we remember these in terms of their where they root from, then it becomes really helpful. So let's break these down now a little further. If in each one of these we get rid of a couple of notes, in this case I get rid of the F and the C and the E minor, or excuse me, the E Phrygian, or just the position starting on E. Ta-da! We end up with a pentatonic scale. I did a previous video showing how there's 3 pentatonic scales within the major scale, and that's what we have here. Those all root off of the minor. And here, if I get rid of the B and the F, then we end up with yet another minor pentatonic. And then if I get rid of the B and the E here, B is unpopular. Oops. Sorry about that. There we go. If we get rid of the B and the E, then yet we have yet another minor pentatonic scale. So these 3 are all exactly the same now. So each of them share 5 out of the 7 scale degrees, so they'll bear the same exact shape. Now, if we're in a major key, C, F, and G are our main 1, 4, and 5 chords. And so you might ask, well, if we're in major, how can this help us when they're rooted in E, A, and D? Well, they are as their lowest note. That doesn't mean that that's where the root is. If we want our 1, 4, and 5, we simply look at it from the position of, where C is always the 1. And if we see that our 1 is right here. Now these scale degrees have all 7 positions after I've changed them to the minor pentatonic. So in each case, our 1, 4, and 5 is the highest note in position on the low E string of each position. So I'm going to get rid of these now. See, we have C, F, and G. And then if we want just the G chord, for example, here we're going to eliminate 2 more notes, the E and the A. And then look, we have the G chord, these 3 notes here. And then if we eliminate the A and the D, we have the C chord in the G shape. If you know your caged stuff, you'll understand this. And then we have the F chord by eliminating the D and the G in this shape right here. So these positions produce what looks like the G chord. And once we break it down like this, we know that, in inverse order, we're taking these and turning them into, 3 pentatonic scales that all look the same, and then 3 major scale patterns that are different but close and interrelated by this landmark of these 3 straight lines on the guitar. Remember, this could be done in any key, not just C. Just for the sake of this video, I've chosen the key of C to make it shown. All this relates back to covering all 12 frets from a process of just knowing 3 of these patterns. And a lot of times when we break them down, a lot of times they're taught to be played in 5 different positions. 5 positions can be overwhelming. Some of the other positions are useful, but I think that if you're trying to memorize the full fretboard, these 3 will give you the most accessibility, and your mind will remember it a little bit more. Well, that's it for now. I'm going to, sorry for a couple of the hiccups there with the software, but I hope you understood everything. Leave your comments. Let me know what you think, and I will see you at the next video. Have a great day.